So we went to the Madras International Circuit for what was the 5th round of INMRC.
Buckle up people, because what we saw in this event blew our minds. It might blow yours too. Stay until the end of this video as we show everything crazy in the Indian motorsport scene.
Greetings everybody, this is Danny Ashwin from Motorsports Tamil. Although the name says Tamil, we made this video in English such that everyone can get to know about this national level competition. So we went to the Madras International Circuit for what was the 5th round of INMRC. INMRC stands for the Indian National Motorcycle Racing Championship. It comprises of 5 rounds and it is predominantly conducted in this racetrack.
We hardly knew about this competition earlier, we knew that there's something called INMRC from the advertisements.
Inspired by the 6-time INMRC champion, the all-new TVS.
But we never knew what it was and what it has been. If you two don't know, here we are to explain you everything that we learned from the event.
5 rounds. 5 rounds for the riders to prove their worth behind the handlebars.
By which I mean the first round happens in Kari Motor Speedway. And the rest of the rounds happen here, from round 2 to round 5.
This track is very important to me because I won my first race here.
And coming in number 3, look at them, he's having a fight for the track again. The fight for the second and third is wins it. 5.
Yeah, that was a bicycle race, but hey, cycling is no slouch.
INMRC, the Indian National Motorcycle Racing Championship, is organized by FMSCI, Federation of Motorsports Club in India. For the round in Madras International Circuit, another organization by the name of MMSC or Madras Motorsports Club are also a part of this. Starting off the day, we went to the venue at somewhat like 10 AM. And what we missed was the qualifying sessions on Friday and Saturday morning. From the noon of Saturday, we were watching the racing action. In terms of the schedules, each racing weekend has 3 days. Day 1, Fridays for the practice and scrutineering. Day 2, Saturdays for the qualifying in race 1. Day 3, Sundays for the race 2. Qualifying sets the grid for race 1 and the results of race 1 sets the grid for race 2. I guess you've seen this format being used in WSBK.
Just like any other racing series, the finishers of each round are awarded with points. And these points are accumulated at the end. And the finisher with the highest number of points is considered the champion. Well, obviously, duh.
INMRC isn't a one championship. It has many categories which have their own championships. Here's a quick overview of all the categories in INMRC and their regulations. Starting off the baseline entrance, we have the novice stock up to 165cc category. As the title states, the bikes in this category are straight out from a showroom. The regulation for this category states that the bike should not have any performance enhancement other than the stock components that it was shipped with. No fancy engine upgrades or exhausts or ECU or anything else. Just the same from the showroom, except the removal of a few things like the headlights, tail lamps, mudguards, blinkers or indicators or however you call them, rear view mirrors, number plates and a few. These bikes aren't as loud as the other categories. The novice stock up to 165cc category has a separate championship for the fastest girls of the country, novice stock 165cc girls. Perhaps this was the most popular category of all the ones we saw. Also, this had a championship story going until the very last round. We'll come back to that in a while because we'll see about the bikes first. These bikes look radically different because they are. The regulation for these bikes mean that they can change almost every component in a production motorcycle within 165cc except for a few components. And these few components include the engine, gearbox, mainframe on the chassis, and the swing arm. This leaves us with a variety of components being used, such as a completely different aero package to that of a production version of the same bike. For example, what you see here is the Pro Stock version of a Honda CBR 150, and you can see the degree of changes made to this. The wheels now have slick tires, the ECU is customizable and is programmed, the suspension, the handlebars, the exhaust and much more are altered to extract the maximum performance that the motorcycle can perform at. So back to the championship story. Rajiv Sethu from the Idemitsu Honda Racing India and Madan Kumar from Pesa Yamaha were fighting for the championship until the last round. With Rajiv having a good qualifying grid, all he needed was to win the race and hope that Madan did not see the checkered flag. Well, what happened in the race? So Madan from Pesa Yamaha won the championship after a good result. And Rajiv did earn a good podium, closing the gap to the lead. We saw the Open Manufacturer Championships. Well, INMRC is not all that. We have the Spec Series Championship too. If you're wondering what a Spec Series is, a Spec Series is a racing series in which all the competitors get equal equipment from one manufacturer. This is how we can see who extracts the most out of the same motorcycle. I'll start with the one I was more interested about. Enter the Honda NSF 250 Championship. Do these bikes seem familiar to you? Yes, these are the bikes from Moto3, specifically the 2019 Honda NSF 250. This category was the fastest of all the races that happened on the day. Even faster than the most prestigious Pro Stock 301 to 400cc, about which we'll see in a moment. All of the ones you saw before were the championships that were not having competitors from the team that hosted us. They were cool, but let's hear directly from the team that hosted us. Without further ado, I present Team Rockers Racing.
So my name is Sathish. I am the team manager for Team Rockers Racing. We have been a national racing team since 2010 and we've been successfully running for the past 12 years and we are planning to continue more years to come. So our riders have won multiple championships in different categories over the years. Likewise, riders like Vivek Pillai, Surya PM, Mohan Babu, so many people that we have trained from the scratch and created them as champions now. So INMRC stands for International Motorsports Championship, which is like the primary racing championship over here in India right now. Classified as national and being considered and recognized as the government's sport right now. And thanks to our previous Sports Minister Karan Riju, it's now been added into the government quota for jobs and opportunities for riders who have been achieving in this field of motorsports. And anywhere in India you want to participate in racing, INMRC is the platform to go to. I would say it's the lack of exposure and understanding with the Indian crowd is what is thing. There's lack of communication and knowledge about it. most people prefer to it as street racing, whereas hardly anyone knows that there is a sport like this happening in India, and especially in a bigger city like Chennai. So the better exposure for it, the better the name develops for the sport, I believe.
The biggest event of the day was the Pro Stock 301 to 400cc category. The regulation for this category is pretty self-explanatory. Every regulation that was implied in the Pro Stock 165 also implies to this one. Except for one thing, that is, the engine capacity should be 301 to 400cc. Team Rockers Racing had their two bikes qualify for P4 and P6 with Surya and Vivek on board. Here are some action footages from the races. We also had the opportunity to interview their riders from the Pro Stock category, and here are a few questions that they answered.
Hi, I'm Surya. I'm a professional motorcycle racer. I'm racing since 2016 till now, and I have won multiple championships and one make championships. And right now I'm leading the Royal Enfield GT Cup amateur category. So this is my bike, and I'm participating in Pro Stock 301 to 400cc in the national championship. And in today's race, I finished P7 in both the races. Okay, so I was pretty late when I got to know about racing. So it was during 2016, which at that time I was 23, which is pretty old because I just got 1 year to participate in the novice category. So, but fortunately, I performed well in the first year itself, and I got multiple podiums and won a runner-up championship. So from there, my eyes were on the factory teams. Then I got approached from the Honda factory team, and then I joined there. And I have been in TVS factory racing and multiple private teams, and won many races and podiums. So it was a bit of a delay, and I got inspired to get into racing because of my friend who is no more. As my friend Sathish said, he died in a road crash. So he was the inspiration. He taught me racing, and I admired him, and then that's how I got to know about racing. To win a national championship is the only goal, and I'm working hard for it, physically, mentally, and that's the only aim right now. So fingers crossed, we'll see.
When we were here for round 2, Team Rockers Racing secured a 1-2 finish in the TVS Apache RR 310 Spec Series, with Vivek winning the race starting from P2 and Mohan on P2 starting from pole. Also in another race, Romario John secured a podium finish in the round 2 of the Honda RNet 2.0 one-make championship. There was one Spec Series that caught our attention. The bikes look like they're pocket bikes, but they are 200cc. They are based off the RTR 200. Representing Team Rockers Racing was a 12-year-old by the name of Shreyas. Let me give you a small perspective. Shreyas is India's FIM Mini GP Series champion. This Mini GP is a part of the Road to MotoGP program conducted by none other than MotoGP themselves. Let's first see what he had to do on the weekend when we went to see him on the track, because just that one race was so ecstatic to me. On the Saturday for the race 1, Shreyas started the race from the back of the grid. He made as far as P6 in the first few corners, until someone took him out and he crashed. We were in a position that we could not record this footage, but nonetheless he crashed. This happened. And then This did not stop Shreyas from doing a mega comeback. He took back the bike and pushed it crazy to finish the race in an amazing V4. Also, after the race, he carried the rider who took him out back to the pit lane. Amazing stuff by the lad. Let's hear from the kid himself.
Hi, my name is Shreyas. I'm a 12-year-old professional tarmac racer, and I started racing because of my dad. He used to ride bikes before too. Yeah, I train almost every day. I train till 3 o'clock in the track, and after 3 o'clock I go to the gym PCG. I'm racing to be the MotoGP champion and make my dad proud.
Hey guys, this kid you see here is probably half my age, but he's probably 4 times faster than I am. He's riding motorcycle, a geared motorcycle, even before I knew how to. At the age of 12, I barely rode a scooter. So this kid here you see is probably the next bet of taking an Indian to MotoGP.
If I wanted to race at 12, my dad would have simply told me to not chase these impossible dreams. But for Shreyas, this wasn't the case. His father is an amazing support system to this young lad's dream of becoming a motorcycle legend. Let's hear from the man himself, Mr. Harish.
From the age of 4, he started cycling. So being a rider myself, I never raced, but I'm very enthusiastic motorcyclist. I've never stopped riding from my college days till now. So I spotted his talent on the cycle itself, but wasn't sure because how I didn't even realize, his mother also didn't realize that Shreyas would go this far. Yeah, it started with the cycle, and we saw some amazing talent on the cycle. And then from the cycle, actually, a friend of mine purchased a motorcycle for his son. And then he said, Shreyas all the time talks about motorcycle, so bring him also. Let's teach both the kids to ride. So my friend tried for an hour and a half to teach his son. His son was too scared and his back started paining. So he said, okay, now it's Shreyas' turn, you take over. So we just put him on the motorcycle, and I just turned like this and turned back, and Shreyas was gone. So I never had to hold his hand and teach him anything. So he rode from the moment he sat on the motorcycle. So since then, no looking back. So just one thing after another. Yeah, that's a good question, and I think a very, very important and relevant question. So just to prepare Shreyas for the FIM Mini GP costed me over 15 lakhs. We had no support from anybody. So because of the demand on time for his training, my time for his training, I had to give up my job as well. So the only way we could fund that was I had to sell both my cars. And he delivered. So it was worth the sacrifice. So he's now the Indian Mini GP champion, and this month we travel to Spain. On 1st, 2nd November, he will be representing India in the World Championship.
To basic start off with, a lack of funding. The amount of budget those guys play with and the budget that our Indian crowds play with are merely even close to it. So, and the way of approaching stuff, the way of thinking, the way of training differs in each categories and differs to the countries that we fight with. But since a good news of MotoGP coming into India for 2023, we will see a different platform and more talents coming into this field as we expect in the upcoming years. Generally, it's all about training, getting the safety equipments that you need for training, and getting into a team to participate in the nationals. So that's pretty much the basic line. As you go into it, the other depths of the expenses start to creep into you, and it's a very expensive sport, but it needs to be recognized and more people need to be encouraged to do it. So basically, you need to have your racing license for certified, which is you have to join an academy where you get trained and they certify you for it, and then you apply to FMSCI to get your racing license. once that's done, it's pretty much joining whichever team you want. If you want to join nationals, or if it's one make that the manufacturers are doing, you just have to come in, apply for it, register to it, and once you start training, you're up to speed and you'll have no time to even think about going back. You are hooked for life. We are expecting to be pretty huge, considering it's the world of MotoGP that is coming over here. That's like the highest level of motorsport racing for you in the world right now. So fingers crossed, INMRC will boom like anything from next year.
And finally, here's a piece of advice I think you all must hear.
Please don't do it. I mean, we did it when we were children, and because we never had an option. And in fact, we did it on others' bikes, not even our own bikes, because our parents could never afford to get us bikes. But India has moved forward economically. I think so training your kids to ride safely, making sure they're wearing all the gear, whatever Shreyas may be on the track, he's not even allowed to ride the scooter at home. I strictly follow that. Even when we go to the school to drop him by scooter, he's wearing the helmet. So I wear the helmet as well as he wears the helmet. So it's very important because I think racing teaches you a lot of discipline as well. So I think if more kids came to the track and trained and raced, our roads would become much safer, and the number of incidents will reduce, because too many precious lives are lost for no reason.
Never do that because I have lost my friend in road because of a jaywalker. So I think it's not safe to ride or race in streets. So if you have talent, then you can definitely come here, which is in the safer side, and safety is the first, and there are people always waiting in your home for you, so always be concerned of that.
Never ever do it on the street. I have had my personal experiences with it about losing a friend. So I would suggest, you want to go fast, come down to the racetrack and let's see what you have.
We are grateful to Team Rockers Racing for this mega opportunity that they provided us, and to witness racing from here. I mean, like, look, these are amazing, aren't they?
To watch all of these from the garage and the pit lane, and perhaps even on top of the scrutiny building. But hey, I didn't tell you that. Shh.
So we are looking forward for the next national championship, which will be starting in June of next year. Until then,
Catch all the updates of INMRC in our Instagram channel. Just as always, follow road rules, wear a helmet.